Welcome back to Beyond the Wrench. My name is Jay Goninen, and I am your host. On today's show, I get to welcome one of my really, really good industry friends, Cindy Barlow from WyoTech. We've had Cindy on. We were just kind of checking to see how long ago it had been since she had been on the show, and it was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. It's been a while. It's been too long, Cindy. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a while. New things happening.
All kinds of new things happening. You've got the program just ripping and roaring at WyoTech, continues to grow, continues to do a lot of really, really amazing things. What's the latest? What's going on at WyoTech?
Oh gosh, where to start? Since 2001, we have built a brand new 90,000 automotive facility. It's called the Dave Kuhn Training Facility. Our facilities manager literally did the entire, he was the general manager for the entire construction. Started in January of 2001 during COVID and had it completed by October of the same year. He's absolutely a remarkable individual. And so we named the facility after Dave, just to let people know what he accomplished there. So all kinds of great things happening there. We have some brand new great partnerships. Kenworth being one of them, very major player in the industry, right? And they came in and donated 9 trucks. We went out to Chillicothe, Ohio, and was able to see the trucks being built on the assembly line and take a tour out there. Go to the pack car facility, just an amazing partnership. And then United Rentals, Takeuchi, Pape, Wagner Equipment. It's just amazing. Reliable trucks, fabulous partnership where they are bringing trucks in for our advanced diesel program to fix them, DOT inspected and back out on the road in 3 months, completely done. From bumper to, and I like to say mud flap because our students put brand new WyoTech mud flaps on every truck that we do. Yeah, so I don't even really know where to begin with some of that. We've got new curriculum, we got new equipment in all of our programs, and literally daily we have new employers coming in to work with WyoTech. We've got a February career fair coming up with over 100 employers flying in nationwide to hire our students. Exciting times at WyoTech, and we're looking at our new expansion. We've got the blueprints done. Everything is approved. So we're just waiting to make that move. We've expanded, and we've added a welding program.
Yeah.
And that program has been and is full through 2026 already. And within the 3rd class, Jay, of opening that program, we literally represented 42 states. So, we like to say WyoTech is the Harvard, and students are realizing that.
The mindset has been really strong, like with the growth side. I think you've always had that as long as I've known you, where you're always looking for more relationships. You're always looking to talk to people. Where do you get that from? I mean, that's did you always have that, or is that something where, as you're building this program, you're like, we do need these partnerships. Let's keep hunting for them.
Well, there's a federal requirement on for-profit trade schools of placement, and when you have students, our average WyoTech student travels at least 1,000 miles to come to our campus. So if we have a strong population of students coming from Texas, we need Texas employers. If we have a strong population of students coming from North Carolina, I fly out to North Carolina, and that's what I do, is I meet employers and bring them in. Very important that we have that. So have I always had that mindset? I think as in all jobs, we grow in those and understand what is actually needed. It's been great to see it full circle, meaning not only do those employers need to come in to hire our students, But what is industry really doing to make sure that our students are industry ready on the job day one, right? And that can't happen without a connection. And so, what are they doing to work with our campus? How are they participating in PAC meetings? I think it's really simple to say, or for shops to criticize tech schools, no matter what they are, who they are.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if industry isn't helping those programs to understand what's needed in the field, it's easy to keep doing the same old thing. By opening that communication and getting industry on campus and really participating with the teachers and the coordinators and our VP of training, I am proud to say that industry is so tuned in to WyoTech that they donate trucks, they're donating software, they're providing a train the trainer opportunities from all across the OEMs to make sure that our teachers are teaching what's relevant. And then, you see those results in our students. And I believe that's why people say, we'll start a WyoTech student at a Tech 3 versus just pushing the broom. Keep in mind, we don't tell the students that. We don't tell them, you're going to start at the top. When you're climbing a mountain, you start at the bottom and you work your way up. And we set those expectations for the kids or students. I'm always calling them a kid. They're my child.
I do that too.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot going on with industry, and industry is beginning to respond.
I think when you talk about partnerships, you've done it about as well as anybody I've seen. And that piece about communication and that feedback loop is so important. I think, especially moving forward with all the advancements in technologies and being able to kind of get that feedback from a shop to make sure that our curriculum aligns with what those shops are needing is really important. And it's getting harder by the day. How do you get that out of a shop, right? Because when I've sat through a lot of advisory committee meetings throughout my life, it can get really easy to kind of go into those meetings and just say, you know what, we need the students to be better at electrical. And kind of then every single meeting is kind of that same tone, but it's almost like surface level, where I think if you go a little bit deeper and understand, okay, electrical, what with electrical? I mean, is it that they can't use a meter properly? Is it like, what is it that we're missing here? I think when the shop, and this is just my opinion, when the shop comes in with a mindset that they want to help the school get better, that relationship works so good. If they come in and just point to the school, and any school, right? Like this isn't WyoTech exclusive, but any school where you would go in and say, well, you guys aren't teaching the right things or something along those lines. It becomes that relationship that's not, that feedback loop isn't working. And I think it's so important for you shops that are out there, you manufacturers that are out there, to go in with that truly constructive mindset of, we're in this together. We want to make this program the best it possibly can be. And by giving good, tangible feedback rather than complaining about anything, I think we move the needle in the right direction. Am I off base there in terms of like that feedback loop and the importance of that from the shops?
You're absolutely spot on, actually. In our PAC meetings, I believe they're very well-rounded. We take the time to be in the classroom. We review the curriculum. We talk about maybe what the holes could be in the curriculum, but then we take it a whole nother step. We walk them through the shop. We show them how that curriculum is applied. And then they are able to give us that feedback right there of what they see is a hole or what they see can just be added to the changes that have come along. That has been incredibly valuable to us. Or is your equipment outdated? What do you need to be working on that's new? This is irrelevant. Are we working on transmissions? Or are we just flipping new ones in? And I can tell you that turned out to be twofold. we do work on the transmissions. We do take them apart. We do put them back together. And you know what? During COVID, when you couldn't find any parts, our students knew how to put them back together. That's not something that's taught everywhere. And so part of that, it's funny because when we went through our PAC board meetings, we were able to explain things like that and to show this is why we still do the fundamentals. It's like driving a stick shift before driving an automatic. You learn the hard stuff first. And then, you know what's also cool is that you're able to then apply that when something breaks down. What was it? It's not just that you take one out, throw it away, and put a new one in, or pop a hole in the engine block and pop a new engine in. It's how do you fix it? So they have those kind of skills, but industry is giving us that kind of feedback. Remember something that, so again, industry can say, gosh, they came out of a tech school and they didn't know anything. But what are you doing to engage with those programs? What are you doing to get out into not only the high schools for the kids who are coming? That's like a shark in a pool. What about those kids in middle school when they're really starting to think about their careers and beyond the fireman and the nurse? And I'm kind of digressing and going into another direction here quickly, but it's really incredible to me as we look about this problem of the trades and kids not being taught early on in life. But I also have to get kind of strong on this comment and say, shame on the public school system for being just a feeder to a college that has no requirement for placement, that simply will teach them marine biology in Wyoming and then not help them find a job. So it's not a total ditch on the public school system, but we've let go of those trade programs. We are not teaching welding like we should. We've dropped a lot of those FFA programs. We don't give them the support that they need. We focus on sports. And how are we going to afford that team versus what about our other team? That team that needs to be taught welding, that needs to be taught the critical job skills of getting out there into that job field. So back to the shops. Do you really want somebody coming in that doesn't know what a Phillips screwdriver is? Time value to money. Basic business 101. You can grow them, but then be very patient with them and understand your cost. Your cost is going to be exponentially higher than a student taking the time to go through a 9-month, 12-month trade school and gain those fundamental basics and then come into their shop. But then also remember, they have the basics. They're not coming in as a professional. And remember what it's like to be 18 and 19 years old again, you guys, because you have a vim and a vigor that we're all wearing out with, right? And those kids are excited about their career, and we should be doing everything we can to dust them off, push them back out there and say, okay, you screwed that up, but go try again. And maybe even not in that direction. But don't say you came from a tech school and you think you know it all. The day and age of having to learn it all on your own should be over. We have neglected training the base. I got a phone call just the other evening. My phone starts at 6 o'clock in the morning and ends Hawaii Pacific time. And it was an interesting conversation. He openly acknowledged we have not taught our base. We have done a terrible job of bringing our kids up into this trades environment. So we can sit and talk about dirty jobs all day long, but they make our world go around, and we need our shops to support them and to buoy them up and to say, get to WyoTech, get to wherever you're going, get the best grades, have the best attendance, be respectful, come out shaking hands and have eye contact and know those soft skills of how to interview and understand that process. And then also be willing to know your limitations and not be afraid to speak up and say, hey, I need help with this. Can you show me? And as an industry, we need to be wise enough and we need to be nurturing enough that we say, come along, I'll show you what I know. And that is what's going to make the difference.
You hit on something there that I think is so underrated, and that is the nurturing of somebody coming into our organizations. And I think when you're talking about when we bring a young person or any student that is just freshly graduated into our shops, and we don't understand what the expectation is or what they can realistically do. A lot of these people are at very young ages. They still have to figure some stuff out. And realistically, we all do. We all have battles we're fighting every single day, every single week. But having some level of empathy for them in their position and being able to nurture them, I love that you say that, as they come in, is so critical. And it's been something that our industry has really lacked for a long time, as long as I've been around. And that's, since the age of 9 years old, I've been a part of this industry. And I think that's something I've seen over and over and over again. And there is some level of, when a student comes in, they do have to learn the hard way a little bit, right? I don't know that we have to communicate it that way. I think a lot of times maybe that more experienced tech that's in the shop, or a lot of times you'll have kind of that alpha in the shop that's like, I had to learn the hard way, you're going to learn the hard way. And you're like, if you could just maybe tweak your messaging a little bit to help that person out, to say, hey, listen, I know this part stinks and you're going to get your butt kicked at times, but there's power in really working your way through and understanding how to fix a problem, rather than just using a crutch to keep asking other people. I think that's where we can be realistic, alongside holding their hand while they're going through that process, right? And I think expectation levels for an entry level person at times are just not realistic. A lot of us want these young people to come in and put a bunch of billable time out right off the bat, and you're like, you could just slow down that part a little bit and allow them to learn the right way. And maybe don't put all that pressure on them immediately. Let them kind of grow at their own pace. Easier said than done, because there's pressures on all of us to perform financially, right? We've got to be able to have productive shops. But the shops that I've seen that have really excelled at this are patient at first, right? And they take their time developing somebody, fully knowing, what, I could raise this person up and they could leave me. Like, they could go to a different shop. That's fine. But I think if the ones that have the mentality to treat their people right have much more of a chance of holding on to that person for the long haul than if you just kind of chew them up and spit them out. Like, I just don't think that's a healthy foundation to our industry that we've really struggled with for a long time.
Something that occurred to me as you were talking that made perfect sense is that when industry comes to our campus, and I encourage that to happen as much as possible. We have industry there every Tuesday and Thursday, plus our career fairs every quarter. But more importantly than that, when I'm talking to industry every single day, one of my very first things that I say to them, come visit. And something that helps to bridge that gap as we send our technicians out into the great unknown is that a lot of our industry has already been on our campus. They already understand what we're teaching. They've seen it. They've met our teachers. They know our culture, and they know what they're going to expect when they get a student out of WyoTech. And I think that makes a huge difference in their placement. When our industry partners are literally making offers on our shop floor at the career fairs, they know what they're getting. And, they have a lot of people that they get to see, from the students to the industry. And that helps. So industry, I have to encourage you. I know it's hard getting out of your shops. I know it's hard taking a couple hours out of your day because they have a fire on their tail of getting things fixed and back out on the road, right? But know your local program. Know what they are teaching the kids so that you know what kind of a tech you're getting so that your expectations are in line with what's coming out. And I think when they take the time to educate themselves just a little bit locally so that they kind of have a concept, I think we can clear a little bit of that up. You're always going to have to take the knocks in life to learn a new job. Nobody knows what they need to know on day one. I didn't. In any job that I've had, you don't walk in there knowing everything you need to know. And sometimes that is the expectation. That's not realistic. And it's almost like a surgery, right? It takes a year to really feel better. Well, it really, in fairness, takes 6 months to a year for somebody to get their feet underneath them and catch their ground and see the rhythm of what they're working in that environment. And hopefully they grow in that, right? But that's something that can be done on an industry side. And, on the school side too, take the time to show the students what it's like to be out there. Don't just teach them the engines. Don't just teach them the transmissions. Don't just teach them the electrical or the drivetrains, but get them out in the field. What's a day like in the shop? How clean is this shop? Meet the owner, meet the service manager, meet the people at the front desk, find out what it is that you really want to do before you make those big decisions. But that's something that public schools can be doing to better that conversation and to help their decision making as they take the time to get into what is their career.
I think that what you just talked about there is so important, which is the visibility to young people into our industry. I talk a lot about that. And I think it's not just important for the kids that will potentially be in our industry. I think it's important for those that might think that this industry is for them, but maybe once they get in the shop and say, oh, this is a little different than I thought it would be. I think it's good for them to not go spend a bunch of money on tools in school and stuff like that isn't going to pay off for them. That's where I think industry could do so much help to these high schools. And like you said, even middle schools, bringing exposure to find out those kids that are mechanically inclined, that do think with their brains and really can critically think, because that's such an important element to everything that we do. And the more we can kind of get invested in those programs earlier, the more I look at it as you're appealing to the best and brightest that could come into this industry and showing them, and I always talk about the importance of job shadowing, because I think it's a really big deal to get kids out of the classroom and into the real world. And I like when a kid might go to a diesel shop and maybe they're going to an independent and a dealership and just kind of seeing the differences there. They go into an automotive shop, they go into a collision shop, and just kind of see if this is kind of in their interest range, or this is what they're thinking they want to do with their life. Exposure to different kinds of shops to kind of see which one would appeal to you the most. And even though they're completely different in a lot of ways, there are a lot of similarities between the shops. So being able to get out there and see even the type of people in a particular shop, in making sure that it's a fit for you as a young person coming into the industry, just any way that we can get visibility to that young person and get them into our shops. And I know there's probably shops listening to this like, well, one, we can't take anybody under 18. We can't do, all of like, list the excuse and why you can't have a young person in. But even if you can't do that, I'll point to the Wisconsin Auto Truck Dealer Association or the Minnesota State Department of Transportation Excellence. Hopefully I got that acronym right. It's a long one, but they do the Nitro X little RC cars for middle schoolers to kind of stoke that fire. And it's just so cool for me to see all of these efforts of these great organizations that are going in and trying to stoke that fire of that young person that's going to be a fit for our industry. But that last piece to me is the critical piece. It's getting the right people into the industry in the first place. And hopefully that would help with that entry level person as they come in, like, hey, I know this is what I want to do. This is what I was born to do. I think we'd have a little bit more luck there too, just in general with some of the early stage attrition rates that we see.
I agree. But there's more that we can do. I think that, and I know here in Wyoming, it's something that we talked about last year at the legislative session, and that is, I know child labor laws and all that other stuff is a big deal, but I don't know about you. I know I'm a lot older than you, but I can tell
Oh,
you, oh, by the way, happy birthday. This is your birthday. So
thank you.
um but I had to get that in there. It's the fact that legislatively there are things that can be done. Talk to your legislature, get some of that stuff changed just on an apprentice side. There can be boundaries around that. But the best thing that we can do for our kids, instead of sitting on the couch and using the phone or the video games, is to teach them to get out there and work. It's not that life has to be about work, it has to be about balance, but learn the responsibility. I think that's healthy and that we need to do more of that as parents. So I like where this conversation is going today because you know what? It's not just industry. I really believe, and I personally see firsthand how much industry is passionate about helping. There's a tremendous amount of, excuse me, money, money out there for scholarships, for tool donations. There's a lot of these companies that have really sharpened their pencils to do tuition reimbursement. And we have some amazing partnerships in that. Waste Connections has been fabulous on that. And so many more. So may we ever be mindful that there is effort being made. Yes, there can always be more. There could be more chocolate in the world. But at the end of the day, I really believe that we're beginning to move that wheel. And, it's interesting. Industry's going through a lot right now. They've got the tariffs. Trucks are not selling. The inflation rate is out of the roof. And so, I talk about donations and money and all that other stuff, but industry's hurting. And we need to be mindful and supportive of that. So one of the first things that I do when I've got a couple meetings this afternoon with new industry partners is I help them in their recruiting effort. I ask for nothing. We're not a pay-to-play school. You don't have to pay money to work with WyoTech. Everything that we do for industry is 100% free. So I get them started and working in our database. I introduce them to the teachers at our campus. I try to do everything that I can to open those doors so that they have immediate success to their bottom line and get that technician in on their shop floor. So I also think as tech schools, we owe them that. We have two customers, our students and our industry. So we need to, at the best of our levels, take care of both at a very high level so that both of them have success. And if we don't do that, then we're failing.
To me, you do that as well as anybody, right? Of kind of connecting those dots and doing it in a way. You've done that for me a lot over the years. And hey, you want to have a conversation with this person? Okay, not a problem. Like you, I think, are the ultimate connector of people, and that helps with growing a program like you've done. I think that is a unique skill to you to want to connect all of these people. That helps at the end of the day benefit the students because there are more industry partners coming in, and they are able to see more options for the type of company they'd like to work for. But then I think it just helps in the relationship side of it, like you were talking about, where when you do want to have a good open conversation with a shop that's out there, and you do want that candid feedback, I think there's enough, you've built enough of a trust level to where people will give you that candid feedback, and they're doing it in a way to try to make the program better, right? Or always kind of trying to improve that growth mindset that we talk about a lot. When you get that feedback, how I mean, I'd assume that's pretty critical to everything that you do in your job, and trying to make sure that's communicated back to the school, or make sure that's communicated back to the students as well. And like, hey, these are some things we need to work on, or these are the things we're doing great. Like, keep doing those things. That feedback loop, I just can't stress enough, like, how important that part is.
That's very true. First of all, thank you. I mean, it hasn't always been easy, but I've learned so much by working with industry. And, my grandpa used to say, Cindy, God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason. And we've heard that cliche over the years. And I don't know that I've always listened to it, but I can tell you that it has served me well. And that when you hear something from industry, that has to be related back to campus. When I hear something from campus that they're needing and they need to expand on, I go to industry immediately. And by keeping that continuity running, and it's not easy. I mean, I'm one person covering the United States of America, and for a campus, and 1,500, or not 15, but about 1,200 on campus right now. It's a big job, but when you get, and I say I'm one person, listen, I've got every single person on our campus behind me.
A lot of good people.
They are my team. So they hear it, they share it with me, I go to it. Whether it's an industry partner that had a question, whatever the case may be. So yes, the loop is important. And I think that's part of the problem that has happened over the years is that we haven't done a good job all the way around. I talk about public schools and shops, but us, other industries, need to make sure that we're all talking. Connecting people is a lot of fun. I got to tell you, you hear something that somebody needs over here and you pass it that way. I can tell you, we recently had a neat opportunity through the ASE Foundation to get 162 of our diesel students to sign up for their first professional ASE paid for by industry. And you rarely get that opportunity to take a professional ASE test before you're out in the field for 2 years.
Right.
Unique. And other schools didn't take it on. And I heard that there were even more opportunities out there. So I took every single one I could get my grubby fingers on and went to the kids personally and helped them to sign up, because it's their success. Industry, working with kids, working with WyoTech equals success.
If you're an automotive, diesel, or collision instructor, or an educator helping students explore these careers, this is for you. Building relationships with local shops takes time, and knowing who's willing to help isn't always clear. ASE Connects, in partnership with WrenchWay, brings schools and industry together on one easy online platform at no cost for schools. At the heart of ASE Connects is School Assist, the online resource that lets you post exactly what your program needs. From guest speakers, shop tours, tools, advisory committee members, career fair participants, and even student job opportunities, shops can see your requests and respond directly to you. You'll also get access to instructor-focused resources, webinars, and templates designed to save time and strengthen industry partnerships. Even if your school doesn't have a formal auto or diesel program, you can still participate to help connect interested students with real-world opportunities. ASE Connects is free for schools. Get started at wrenchway.com/solutions/schools or use the link in the show notes. I agree. One thing I kind of picked out of what you had said earlier too, is something that I think is so important, which are the focus on some of the basics as well, right? I think the culture at WyoTech, from my experience, you are instilling some of those values like showing up on time and having a clean appearance and kind of that professionalism that I think is so important. I know when I talk to a lot of technicians, I'll kind of say to them, "Hey, listen, we're out battling our tails off for you for like to get that public perception in a better place, and we're trying our best to get you the respect and kind of even the pay, like everything that a good technician desires. We're really working hard at that as an industry right now. I think there's so many good people in our industry that are fighting the good fight for technicians to kind of change some of those perceptions and the outside perceptions of them. But I also will say to technicians, like, you have to help us out here, right? You have to act in a professional manner. You have to act in a way that your mother would be proud of, right? You have to act in a way where when we're out kind of fighting that good fight, that you're backing us up, right? And so those focus, or that focus on that professionalism at an early stage in a career, is so important for us as this industry continues to evolve. I think that's going to be something that will be a common theme moving forward, is that, you know what, if you want to be eventually treated like a doctor, you've got to act a little bit more like a doctor then, right? And if you want that, I'll talk about Val on our marketing team does a fantastic job with a lot of social media content. And some of the comments she'll get on videos, you're like, come on, guys, like we're better than this. Like, why do we have to talk this way? Right. Like, so to me, it is about a standard that we need to uphold on all ends of our industry. And that is one of the things that I'll talk to a lot of technicians about. And then also, one thing, I guess, as we are talking through this, that comes to mind is shining a light on those that are doing it the right way. WyoTech has done a fantastic job of shining a light on their incredible alumni network and some of the stuff that you're doing out there. So showing that, hey, you know what? There are people that have done this at a really, really high level. And those are the people we should be looking up to, right? They're the ones that hold the standard. And that's for any young person listening to this that's coming out. Look to those folks as your standard, right? Look to those people as the ones setting the bar, so that you have something to live up to, and that we constantly are pushing the industry forward in a positive manner.
You said it best, Jim. It is so important to have old-fashioned standards. A lot of people think that those are outdated and that they're just over and above it and they can do whatever they want. Well, I'll tell you, you aspire to those things. So I always say aspire higher. Don't set your goals down here, set them up here. At the end of the day, it is so important to show up professional. You know, at WyoTech, your hair has to be short. Your breeches had better be pulled up. Your shirt had better be clean. Your face had better be freshly shaven every single day. And for girls, your hair needs to be pulled up for shop safety. We take attendance 8 times a day. You know, it's important to be on time and to show, and even be early, for heaven's sakes. It seems like, you know, now with Zoom and everything else, you don't have to show up until 8 o'clock. No, you should still show up 5 minutes early and make sure your camera works, right? Or your microphone, or whatever the case may be. The point is, be professionally ready in your dress, in your attitude, in everything that you do. And industry, I remember somebody came to campus once and said, I don't care what their grades are. I don't care what their attendance is. I just want them to show up. Well, your most expensive employee is the one that has been on your shop for even a month. You have onboarded them, you've spent all this money to get them there, and then all of a sudden, you know, they don't show. You want to make sure that you know who you're hiring. Yeah, it is what it is, but we need to, well, back to that industry partner, they said, I just want them to show up. They were going for the pulse. I kind of lost my thought train there. And when I heard that, I had to talk to them just briefly and say, and chuckle with them and say, okay, you want them to just show up, but you don't want them to get good grades. You don't care what their attendance is, but you want them to show up. Opposite, you're sending the wrong message. And honestly, at WyoTech, Jay, we don't recruit for that pulse. We recruit for the passion. We look for the kids who have been in those programs, who want to be a gearhead and really get in there and get their hands dirty and their feet wet into a new career. If we hadn't have done that, then we're going to be a part of that ASE statistic where in 2 years they're leaving the industry. So we need, as parents, as schools at all level, we need to set our kids up for success. And we've been terrible about doing that. Public school settings are not a babysitter. They're an educator, and they need to act accordingly. And when they get out to post-secondary schools or, their 2-year, 4-year schools, whatever they choose, we need to make sure that we are giving those kids the absolute best, and then making sure that they're employed with the best. So I get to be that filter, right? I get to meet the companies, I get to see the culture, and I also get to say, is that a good match for WyoTech? Because if you're going to just get your name in a database but not recruit, then you're just a number. And you're like a salmon swimming upstream in an ocean that's never going to see a result. So may we all connect the dots and do our own part and own our own spots, and then, make it the best yet.
Well, you talked about that, hiring anybody with a pulse, or, a lot of times if I'm out giving a presentation to a bigger group, I'll say, how many of you would hire somebody that could fog a mirror? And people kind of chuckle and laugh and then raise their hands. And I'm like, that's where we've got to think a little bit differently from here on out, where we need to have intentionality in the type of people we're bringing into our shops, and then how we're treating them once they're there. You almost have to view it like a major league baseball team, or somebody that has a minor league, where you're working to develop that next level of talent. And that is where that relationship with your school, that you're, whether it's middle school, high school, or tech school, the more you have that relationship, the more times you get to go be hands-on at a place and really kind of get to know people, rather than just maybe a drive-by where you're not truly maybe talking with these people, or you're doing it in a conversation that could be, I want to say awkward, but there are some in our industry. I think that when you sit down with a young person, it's a different type of conversation. And so I think it would be in our best interest to have a standard of which we hold people to when they come in our doors. And when you do see a good, I say this a lot too, where when you see a good professional technician, to me, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world. Like, they're organized, and like, I've always got kind of this mind, or this avatar almost in my head of that professional tech that is just well organized, clean cut, shows up 15 minutes early to work to have their bay in order, ready to go. And just when you see that, you're like, that's what we're talking about. That's the standard that we want for our industry to have. And I had mentioned earlier your alumni network, but the WyoTech alumni network is crazy. Like, the amount of talented people that have come out of there, it's so impressive to me. And the more we can really point to those type of people and say, look, they started off in the same place that you're starting off right now, and look what they've done. And, I think that's in all elements of our industry. I think with WyoTech, a lot of times I love hot rods, right? And you see the amount of builders that have come out of that program. That's crazy. I've had diesel techs that have worked for me over the years that came from WyoTech that were super impressive. Same with automotive techs. Like there's just so many good coming out of there that I hope that we're able to kind of continue to shine a light on those folks, because that is really showing the way for the next generation.
Well, this is our 60th year. So WyoTech has been around since 1966. So it's fair to say that we've got over 66,000 graduates from WyoTech.
Oh,
That's huge. And yes, you are absolutely right. We've got the Hall of Fame where we honor our graduates who have done amazing things. And every single year they come back to our campus and they give back to the kids to inspire them to be the best, because they could be one of them. We had a young girl just the other day who put her application in. She's an Eagle Tech. She's taken almost every single class at WyoTech. She's now just signed up to take the associate's degree. And so she'll be there like, gosh, I don't know how many months. But Alexis, in my opinion, is going to be the next Jessie.
oh,
Jessie
that's
Combs,
high praise, high praise.
2023 WyoTech graduate. And she has set the bar for every single woman that attends WyoTech, in my opinion. I'm humbled by the friendship of her mom and her family and the foundation and the work that they do. But this young girl is amazing. So when we do aspire higher and we see those people that have set the example before us, we should never put that glass ceiling on our head and say, oh, wow, that looks like it's impossible to do. That's your potential. So by having a Hall of Fame, our kids get the opportunity to meet the best, to literally have the best in the industry who were once where they were, now inspiring them to be like them. And how remarkable is that? I mean, it's such a family. And back into our shops, we need to make sure that culture, when you get a new tech, that you're taking the time to know them. Do you like to hunt? Do you like to fish? Do you like to ride cycles? What's your passion? Because this is why we work. We don't just work because we want to work. We want to work to edify our lives. So, do I hold value in this company? It's one thing to talk about recruitment, retention, but retention is a part of that. You want to give your employees meaning, and it takes time. You need to know their names. You need to know about their kids and what they're going through in their lives. And it's not easy right now. So are they getting by okay? And is there something that you can do to pull together, whatever the case may be, but to lighten their load, or to take everybody out and go fishing? So work on your culture. And I don't know that I like the word culture because I think it's popped out there so much.
Yeah.
Work on being a friend. Work on being just a good human being that truly cares about who's working for you or who you're bringing in or how you're recruiting. And to those kids, pay attention to how you're treating these people. Make sure that you treat them with respect, that there's nothing wrong with yes, ma'am, no, sir. Taking off your hat when you enter a room, holding the door for a woman, or anybody who just needs your help through a door. And we don't see a whole lot of that anymore. In Wyoming, we could be driving down the road and we still wave as people go by. And people say, why do you do that? And it's because
We were raised.
be kind. It's the way you're raised. And so just consider some of those things, because it's the little things that make a huge difference on how you treat people, and just making a difference for everybody's lives. Recognize that this young generation want to have purpose, they want to have balance, they want to know that they matter. And how can you make that happen? Let them contribute. Let them say, hey, I learned this. Let me show you what I learned. And be interested. Be curious. That's what I think is more important than anything.
Oh, and I think WyoTech is so unique in that regard, right? Because you're in Laramie, Wyoming. There's a lot of, you talk about the old fashioned values, and I think there's so much value to that. And I think a lot of employers could learn from that along with the students, right? In just having that old style work ethic, having some of that, I think that's what, when I say unique about Laramie, Wyoming, it is a lot of hard workers. There are, kind of almost that, I have talked to Jim Mathis quite a bit. It's been a while, but I like just talking to him. I think that is driven down throughout everybody, right? That kind of those values that are really important. And as an employer, if you get somebody in that has those old fashioned values, which I think are the best thing in the world to have, right? Like you said, the being polite. And my wife still makes fun of me to this day because I wave at everybody as I'm going by. And yeah, we actually have a game now to see who actually waves back to me, which it is hit or miss at times, but it is. I think that's such a unique part about what you've all built out there, is that you're able to, in this modern world, still bring a lot of those values that are really impactful to a young person. And the more you kind of get that ingrained in them, the more, I think, the more quality their life is going to be, the more quality human being they're going to be. And ultimately, if you can build a business with quality human beings that treat people right, you're not going to have some of the attrition problems that a lot of shops have. You're going to build it with the right type of people. And to me, that makes all the difference in the world, right? Between having a great shop with people that like working together versus, hey, I'm just filling this with whoever will apply. It takes some intentionality, but I think you guys do it as good as anybody.
I love the fact that you brought up Jim Mathis, and I love it because great things happen from great leadership. He was a WyoTech grad that went back to work for WyoTech later, got fired, came back the next day as the vice president, and now he owns a school. And he is literally the catalyst for changing so many lives at this time of the trade renewal. But when I talk about leadership with him, it's nothing to see Jim walk across a parking lot and see a piece of garbage and pick it up. It's popping his head into a shop and walking over curiously to one of the groups of students working on, a transmission or some hydraulics, and saying, "Tell me about it." And that doesn't happen every day because we get busy. And I can tell you, I don't think Jim Mathis sleeps for the things that he keeps us busy with, but he takes the time. And I know time is valuable, but it's an investment that he makes back into his people literally daily. He keeps his office door open. Anybody can stop in and talk to him. That kind of accessibility keeps things moving. And it sets the example for all of us, of how to treat people and how to communicate to your team, and us also set that example. And now we're all picking up garbage, and the kids are too. So you set the example, and then the example is emulated. So he is a great leader. WyoTech is blessed to have him at the helm, and lucky that he took the time. He didn't have to. He's at that point and has been successful in his life. He didn't have to. He chose to, and is passionate about what he's doing with it. So, and that passion runs down to all of us. So I really appreciate the leadership that we have at WyoTech and the opportunity to do what I do with them, and then just to be a small part of the growth that we see in the kids.
I absolutely love that. Echo everything that you just said about Jim, a wonderful, wonderful leader that our industry is blessed to have. He's just a top notch person, in general, and I feel like he does things the right way. So couldn't agree more. All right, as we're getting close to the end of the podcast, we have some get to know you type of questions that I've got some quick hitters here, more fun than anything. But want to start with, what was your first car?
Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this, but it was a 1969 Chevy Impala two-door with a 360 engine. Was a 360? Does that sound right?
Yeah,
And
something, yeah.
it sucked gas more than I drank milk. And I love that car. Bought it for $250. And it had one owner before me.
How did that thing get around in Wyoming?
Oh, great.
Really?
With that kind of horsepower, I never was held back. No. But it's something that just makes me sick, literally, today, to actually verbally say this out loud. I was sheep herding for my family up in Otter Creek, Montana, and I was driving back out there one day, and they had just graded the road, and I rolled it. And
oh no.
No, I totaled that car in a ditch. And it was I could feel myself going over, and I rolled down in there, and I couldn't even get out of my doors. And the engine's revving up, and I reached up and I shut it off, but I had no way to get out.
Oh my.
Because my doors were locked by the ditch. So I had to kick my windshield out. And it pains me today to tell you this story because I know the value of that car. But when I drove it home like an airplane with a scarf around my neck and the windshield wide open. And I had to drive it back like an hour and a half to get back to Sheridan, Wyoming. So, yeah, I was like driving Miss Daisy in a wreck 69 Chevy Impala. I did take all the glass out, but totally illegal.
If there could have been photos of that, that would have been.
I'm so glad there's not. Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's going to be a hard one to top. That's pretty good. What is your favorite type of food?
Oh gosh, I wish there was something I didn't like, Jay, but I love homemade bread. And so I love making it. I love giving it away. And Lord help me if I keep it in the house. So homemade bread.
That sounds really good right about now.
Yeah.
Last question. What time do you wake up in the morning?
Well, I wish I could tell you that I sleep in, but and it doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I'm up at 5. And I just sometimes want to tell the old body to just quit doing that, but it just doesn't listen. So it doesn't.
Does that you travel a lot, so that goes across time zones too, and I'm sure you get that late flight into somewhere, you're like, it would be nice to get a couple more hours of sleep here.
Think about that when you're going to the East Coast and coming home. You lose 3 hours, plus you were up at 5. So you relive 6 hours of your life.
How often are you on the road right now? I said that was the last question, but I like in a given year, like you're on the road a lot.
Oh yeah. So January's been kind of nice. I've been to the campus. So I live 4 hours north of the campus, but I've been to the campus 3 times this month. I'll be headed down there again Thursday. But travel, I'm as home in the air as I am on the ground. The month of January I won't be, or February I won't be, in March. Oh yeah, in April. Oh yeah, in May. And then it slows down in June and July a little bit. But yeah, I'm gone a lot. I pay more for 2 dogs and a cat.
Well, I said it at the top, but one of my favorite people in the industry. Always have a lot of fun with our conversations. You, me, George from ASE, George Aarons. We have a lot of fun together. Yeah, right. Oh, if he hears that, no, I, it's just always fun. I always learn something from you, and it just really value our friendship, and it's just been so fun to see what you've been able to do over the years. So really hope we don't wait for another 3 years to have you back on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, come on.
That's on me.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being on the show. Take care.
Okay, thanks.
That wraps up another episode of Beyond the Wrench. If you like this episode, please show your support by rating and following the podcast. You can also watch the video interviews on WrenchWay's YouTube channel. Speaking of WrenchWay, Beyond the Wrench is managed and produced by the WrenchWay team. WrenchWay is dedicated to promoting and improving careers in the automotive, diesel, and collision industries. In partnership with ASE, we run the ASE Connects community, which empowers shops and dealerships with reliable data, school connections, and industry insights while helping grow the future technician workforce. You can learn more by visiting WrenchWay.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.